This that
Red Panda Anthem.
Ian, what's up?
This that Red Panda Anthem.
Red Panda, what's good?
Red Panda Anthem.
But what about you guys? What do you think 3 things people can do to prevent from getting taken advantage of in this recession?
I think just in life, in any economic environment, avoid investing in things that you don't understand. That's extremely important. If something sounds like it's too good to be true, it usually is. And have firm, realistic expectations before going into it.
You're an advisor, right?
Yeah.
You guys have met a few billionaires. I don't know how many millionaires. Has any of them behind the scenes told you like, hey, I put all my money into this one project or coin, or did they all have diversified business models?
Diversify. You got to diversify. It's important. So I feel like people, like I said, they just don't have a realistic expectation based off of a variety of different things, lack of information, lack of education, social media, different things of that nature. So that human history, that allows you to get scammed. So put your thinking caps on. Use your intelligence, not your emotions. And that's like golden rules for life, really.
Yeah, I think what you said. What you said is that speculating, like trying to find the next thing. Like we said this every year for the past 2.5 to 3 years. It's like, look, we don't have to look for the next thing from the thing that's here is working. And so a lot of times when we try to look for the next thing, we start speculating and we try to take gambles. And it's like, for what? Right? Like we want that quick flip. I remember like, and even when we were in Vegas, I was there for that rant with you. I was like, he was going crazy up there. But it was like the young lady asked me, yo, how do we make a quick flip? And I'm like, we got to change the mindset on that. Like, we're not here to quick flip. We're actually here to create wealth.
And I know that's not sexy.
I know it doesn't feel right. It's like, yo, but I need money now. And I'm like, yeah, like we got to get out of that mindset of instant gratification and we need everything right now. That gets us nowhere.
And if you need money now, because the thing is, we was talking before we start recording, I got to get a place out there in New York. When I get the bill for what it would be, I'd be like, whew. The thing I do love about New York, though, the energy of it, and everyone's on the move. If you need money today, then you have to get up and work. Like if the average person that is not financially free is working 8 to 10 hours a day, and then getting on the subway and traversing everything that goes on through New York and, stepping over the rats and all that, right? Why do you think you can work 2 hours a day in the middle of your house? And like, I ask them all the time for reference, how many hours a day do you guys work? There hasn't been a time that I've messaged them in the last year. And Troy's like, man, I'm just at the crib playing Yahtzee. I hear Rashad, what you doing? Like, and Rashad is working on stuff too. You can see when his brain turned and he did this. I'm like, yeah, he figured out another idea. He figured out another idea. Like, you have to put the time in. And it's not the sexy answer, but it is the answer that is going. And let's take Floyd, Joe, familiar with his work schedule. Steve Harvey, Beatty, Loon, Charlemagne, Detavio. How many hours on average that when you guys talk to them, how many hours are they working? And they have staff and support.
They're always working. Always. That's why, and that's one of those things that you don't see everything that goes into it, right? Like you see like, end product of it, but there's work every day, almost all day. Like, and even with Joe, we were talking to him, he's like, days off. Like, bro, do you realize how fortunate we are to be in the position we're in, to actually do what we want to do, to talk about topics with the people that we actually like in this world, and to have people.
And to be Black doing it.
And be Black doing it. It's like, no, we're very fortunate. So why would we stop? Like nobody's going to outwork it. That's just always been the model. Nobody's going to outwork us. The things that we're willing to do in the spaces we're willing to travel. Like even last week, we were just looking at the schedule. It was like 4 days in a row, we were in a different city. Right? And episodes are still coming out. And you know what I mean? There's a lot of other business.
And planning for 2023 and other bit. And I'll say this too, for everyone, and I'm not just caping because I do the show with them and I have a relationship with them. But when some of you are getting upset at Troy and Rashad, you cannot be jealous of their success for the work that you didn't put in. Trust me. I would rather be playing with Xander right now. Rashad, I'll see him go to a basketball game, get on the plane, come down, touchdown, and leave. No shower. Hey, let's go ahead and record. 2023 can be your best year ever if you build the right team, number one. Number two, you don't need an accountability partner. You need accountability to yourself. And if you work on your craft every day, 7 days a week for 3 years, you will have the greatest explosion in your career.
So before we bring our guest on, we got one more topic to talk about, and let's get into this. What do we think of Kevin O'Leary's statement in regards to FTX, and how do we know who to trust as endorsers? So anybody want to explain the Kevin O'Leary situation first, and then we can kind of go into this?
Sure, you want to explain it?
Yeah, so I mean, Kevin O'Leary, obviously, we spoke about it a little bit last week when we were talking about
Mr. Wonderful.
Mr. Wonderful
from Shark Tank.
Shout out to Mark.
Billionaire.
He was paid $15 million? Yeah, $15 million to endorse FTX.
That's a lot of coin.
That's a lot. And so there's a certain level of accountability and responsibility, or should there be, is really the real question, that these influencers or investors should have when endorsing something and not knowing all the intricacies of the actual business. And so when the money goes, and obviously we saw it happen with FTX, if I was investing in that based on his recommendation, what is his accountability? The other part of it is when they went back to him, he was on CNBC, and they were asking him about the crypto space. And he says, it was something that I believed in. And then they pull up the records, and he's saying in the same year that it's a garbage space and nobody should be involved in it. Right? You can see there's a contradiction.
I mean, 15 million to change your tune, though.
So then is there a price point that can change your tune? And at what cost do you owe the general public to have that disclaimer to saying like, hey, I'm being paid to do this? And we've seen that with other influencers, and with Khaled, and we saw it with Ken, and we saw it with Floyd. And I think their cases actually got thrown out. But at some point, what's the account? What is the penalty for being paid to endorse something that we know, or not willingly, well, maybe willingly know that not a legit space?
Number one, everyone write this down. If you have to realize that no one cares about your financial success more than you. Celebrity that does not know you is not entitled to protect you financially. I think we may be one of the few entities ever created in the history of mankind that actually acts as a fiduciary in everything that we say. Number two, what kind of accountability? I don't know. I know he's frustrated, and everything that he said when he was speaking to them sounded like everything that we said on the show about what happened when I came and sat down with you guys in New York, which I miss doing, and I cannot wait to be back and record again. But when something is, okay, hypothetically, if a company is making, let's say, take FTX, if they're making, let's say, 30% a quarter, Rashad, you can attest to this as an advisor, you're like number one, top 1% in the world, if that's the case. Why the hell you got to pay an ambassador $15 million a year to promote if you're actually getting 30% a quarter returns? Makes no sense. I think this is a prime case of everyone has a price. I like O'Leary. I like his investment philosophy and strategy. Been a fan of him on Shark Tank forever. Even in some of my grumpiness that you see in me, I relate to it in him because of how he's been screwed over in deals. But when you are supposed to take care of the public and you don't do so for a bag, is it really worth it? Even Shaq said, hey, I'm not a fan of crypto. I was just a paid spokesperson. And this is the number one, going back to ads. I only want to have ads on a platform from a company or a product that I actually use and or like. And Rashad and I had a very spirited conversation about this like a year ago. I think the number one mistake that podcasts are making, and number one, they got you to say podcast instead of film, but number two, you are allowing your life's work to be sold away for pennies on a dollar when you let a product be advertised on your platform that you do not own. This is going to have a severe hit on O'Leary's reputation and ultimately probably Shark Tank. I would not be surprised if this does not get fixed in the next 3 months, that they don't find someone to replace him. And everyone said it's not possible, but they've had Kevin Hart and some other people. If they put Kevin in that seat over O'Leary, I love you, Mr. Wonderful, but it's gone. And even to our audience, when you're like, hey, why are you interviewing rappers? Clearly, we have to get bigger, because if the people that you're idolizing and looking up to have a higher Q score than us, then you're telling us to get a higher Q score to match that. I won't talk about Kevin Hart's deal with Chase, but that's a nice bag he's getting to promote Chase. So there's a method to the madness while we interview a Floyd, and because that's what the audience ultimately wants. But be careful. No one cares about your money more than you do, except me and us in this show. And if I made you money, please put yes in chat.
Yeah. And it's kind
He hated crypto and then endorsed it and got mad when he got swindled. Huh?
That's what I'm saying. And it's different when it comes from him. So yeah, like Tom Brady's endorsing it as well. People are going to, Tom Brady's an athlete. Steph Curry was in the commercials. He's an athlete. Like when it comes from somebody who's looked at as, a leader,
an investor.
That's the financial space and has a show that is based on investing. It's going to hit a little different. Right?
And just because you know about one space doesn't mean you know about another.
This that.
Red Panda Anthem.
Ian, what's up?
This that. Red Panda Anthem.
Rap Panda, what's good?
Red Panda Anthem.
Your
Whole
boy.
clip going up. I know they can't stand it.